Welcome back, runners. This is exactly the news I wanted to hear about Marathon. It was the big thing I was wondering about, and that is build crafting. Drewsky has uploaded an interview with Kevin Yanis, and it goes into some incredible detail about build crafting in Marathon. And I'm well aboard the hype train for Marathon now. I cannot wait for the server slam. If you are looking for people to play with, please join the Discord. I'll leave it down below. If you want to watch the full interview between Kevin and Drewsky, I'll leave that down below too, because you can see the full question and answers. What I'm going to give you today is some of the more important pieces of information I think that's new to our knowledge about Marathon, and also give you my opinion about them. Okay, runner shells. There was a bit of a conversation about runner shells, most of which we had heard about before, how they set a framework for different play styles, which we all know, but also they create a visual language so you can recognize runners, at a distance during combat, and you can coordinate an attack plan. Like, oh, hey, they've got an assassin, they've got a recon. I can tell by the look of the runner that might change how we approach the situation. But what I had not heard them talk about is how new seasons will add new runners. I don't know if that means every season will add a new runner. I doubt it, but it makes sense that we'll eventually get new runners when new seasons drop. But also they spoke about how new seasons will sometimes change existing runners, with Kevin saying that they will add new approaches to existing roles. Without specifically giving more detail, it does sound like they could add new abilities for existing runners. So like variations of a runner that has different abilities, but still within their current role. So for example, like Recon's role is about giving you information about the enemy. They can scan where the enemy is. So what other abilities could Bungie add that would align with, the information giver of the team? When it comes to build crafting in the game, some build components they talked about being, pretty simple and non-special. However, this is very intentional, as they are designed to be combined and stacked together with other pieces before feeling potent. Now, for this specific section, Kevin didn't really give any actual examples, but really here, in my mind, he was just defining build crafting. Build crafting isn't just about a single piece of gear. It's about the collection of multiple bits of gear, multiple components, working in synergy to make you feel more powerful, aka build crafting. So there will be that element to the game. However, anyone who's played loot and shooters or a fan of Destiny will know that some things break these rules. In Destiny, it's exotics. In this game, it's going to be the gold tier items that are going to break the rule and make you feel really powerful almost by themselves. And like any good build crafting game, that they might become the centerpiece of your build. In Kevin's own words, if you find a gold item, it should feel like you are cheating. Gold cores are going to make your runner feel incredibly powerful. Gold weapons are the apex weapon, and gold implants even have unique passives that are almost like abilities and will also be randomly rolled with other passives. It very much feels like there will be some excitement when you actually find gold tier items out in the wild. But if gold items feel like you are cheating, how do you balance that? Well, Kevin explains that the game kind of balances it itself through loss, the risk of losing the items during a game. Players must first decide whether they're going to risk losing a bunch of gold items and whether the reward is worth it. And this is the core part of any extraction shooter. How much gear do I want to risk for the potential reward? He also mentions how they can just balance the economy rather than the item itself, like changing how you acquire that gold item that might be a bit too broken, or how they might change its cost. You can limit its supply while still keeping it powerful. My interpretation of this whole section is they're just saying we can have powerful items in the game that actually feel unfair, because eventually you will lose it. And it will then be someone else's turn to play with it. I literally spoke about this whole concept to my friends like a couple of weeks ago. And the example I gave to them is like, it's not like Destiny where you can grind for a god roll. And once you have it forever, unless you accidentally delete it. But you have it forever, and that advantage never leaves you until Bungie makes a change, makes a nerf, makes a buff, balances the weapons. Some people will hate this, and the game will feel unfair. Others will die to some bullshittery and be like, what was that? Hold on in the proc chat before you kill me. What were you just using? Can you please tell me? Because that was kind of cool. And this is how I think about it, right? Like back in the day, if you'd play Trials of Osiris in Destiny and you would die to someone using a cracked God roll weapon, the way that you had to close that gap is to go grind whatever activity you needed to get a similar or better weapon. In extraction shooters, you only have to get lucky once. You only have to win one round of trials. You manage to sneak up on a team. You get the jump on a team. You get to steal their power. You get to take that and all the work they did to make that build, and all that power gets transferred to you. And that's the highs and the lows of extraction shooters. If you just made a build and you lose it, that's the low. The high is you just stole someone's god tier gold build and now it's your turn to play with it. Overall, it's a classic question of risk versus reward. And many extraction shooters influence this through maps and activities. For example, I'm predicting in Marathon, the starter maps like Perimeter and Marsh are unlikely worth risking a full gold build. I don't think you're going to take in a fully juiced build onto those like starter maps. You're not going to make enough profit from the loot itself, or even if you wipe the entire server, the lobby, like you're not going to make enough money back to justify the risk of all that gear. Oppositely, completing endgame maps like on the Marathon, like the Cryo Chamber, will likely be worth it. More geared players and better loot. And then of course there's the ranked mode, which would very much likely be the time that you dust off the gold stuff and actually make a proper build and take it in, because everyone else will be using their best builds. The risk will be incredibly high, but if you walk away from it, you're probably going to walk away completely and utterly stacked with loot. With how game-changing gold items seem, the next question is, how easy is it to acquire them, or more realistically, reacquire them after you lose them? Talking about lower tier build components, Kevin says that it will take a couple runs. And so I think for like starter builds, you'll be able to start putting some simple stuff together after a couple runs. You'll get some implants, you'll get some cores, you'll get some lower tier things to put together to make a low tier build. But the high rarity stuff, you just left pretty vague, saying it's going to take a little bit longer to find that stuff. But this is balanced with some deterministic ways to acquire gold items. Kevin confirms that completing all of a single faction's quest line will provide the opportunity, or unlock the opportunity, to purchase gold components. On top of that, not just buying build components, but leveling your faction will also give you like stack packages and passive benefits. In my opinion, Marathon will play out very similar to how Tarkov plays, where after a reset or on the release of the game, most players are going to be very quest orientated, trying to level their vendors, or in Marathon's case, their factions. And once they have that, it'll be time to make a build, a proper build, and hunt down other players. Drewsky, a PvP guy, even says that the priority first is going to be quests and then PvP. When it comes to weapon balancing, Kevin talks about how there's intentionally a big gap between grey common weapons and the purple higher tier weapons. The rarity matters, but you can close this gap with mods. So early game, when you don't have access to high rarity weapons, you definitely want to be equipping weapon mods, and mods will help you close that gap between the baseline performance of grey weapons and lower tier and the higher tier weapons. Finally, they briefly spoke about Rook and how Rook can actually be upgraded through faction upgrades. Another reason to prioritize your faction quests. Changing their starter loadout. Now, they didn't give examples here, and I don't know if different factions will give you actually different starter loadouts for Rook, but that would be super cool. My thoughts overall. When Marathon did the alpha test, I really did not enjoy it. I made multiple videos about what it did wrong and what Arc Raiders did right. Strangely, the closer we get to launch, Marathon has made changes that really align with what I want to see from an extraction shooter. Things that I'm seeing happen in Arc Raiders that I wish were actually different. For example, in Arc Raiders, common weapons, common grey weapons, really compete with epic purple weapons. And they sometimes are even a better option. And they are definitely a better option from the risk versus reward philosophy. Marathon seems like the complete opposite, saying no. The power of higher tier weapons is more powerful. And not only that, but gold weapons will feel like you are cheating. There will be a noticeable feeling between those rarities, which I do like. Arc Raiders, the legendary gold items are incredibly underwhelming. Arc Raiders doesn't have any real component of build crafting, and so I like seeing this aspect of Marathon being a huge point of difference for the game. And hopefully, and by the looks of it, I think it's going to make loot really exciting, which is something that I often don't see in Arc Raiders either. I don't get excited when you see stuff drop because it doesn't have that power difference. And if stuff feels like you're cheating in Marathon, you're going to be like, oh my God, I just got this gold core. I want to get out and give it a shot to see how great it is. All right, that's all I've got for you. Like and comment, glad you appreciate it. Join the Discord for Run of Friends. I'll see you next time. This is Marlon Games. Peace.